soon. Hello again. Nice to see people out there. I'll give you YouTube a moment to load. So I just got back from a little vacation and I thought I would tell some stories from that to help you speak a bit more fluently. We'll just wait for YouTube to get fired up. In a moment, I think. If you can see this, post a comment. Let's see. Should be working. All right, I think we're going now. All right, I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide, and welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Today, I wanted to just make a short video, and then I'll take time for answering questions if people have any. But this is just just two actually interesting vacation stories. So I just came back from Okinawa. So this is it's like a group of islands in the southern part of Japan, like at the very bottom of the area. Well, nice to see everybody there. Tsubasa, Ohio. Nice to see you there. If people are on vacation, let me know. But again, I just wanted to tell two quick stories from this. You can let me know if you have any questions. I'll keep my eye on the chat. But it should be an interesting video for those who want to speak more fluently. So the first story is I was in Okinawa, as I just mentioned, with my family. My mom actually came out to visit me, so we were enjoying our time there. And there is a pool at the hotel where we stayed, and my daughters love getting into the pool, and they're starting to learn how to swim more. And my older daughter, Aria, up until this trip, she had almost always held her nose like this. So she, holds on to her nose when she gets under the water to make sure that she's not, getting water up her nose. So she would try to swim. She could get under the water and she could usually swim around. She didn't have a problem with that. But she was, again, holding her nose just to make sure water didn't get under. And for a long time, like the past few years, since she's been doing this, I've been telling her, you don't have to do that. The water is not going to get up your nose unless you breathe in, and that's where you start choking. But she didn't believe me. She was just like, no, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And so I didn't really try to push that on her because there's really no way for me to do that. I can't just hold her hands and push her under the water. That would be a really bad thing to do. But just hopefully I can explain to her, just show her, but I wasn't able to do that. So I would say, Aria, it's okay, you don't have to do that. And then I would show her, look, I'm not using my hands, and I would just get under the water, even up to my nose here, just so she could see that the water was not getting up. But she still didn't believe me, and she was still saying I can't. So I had an idea about something I would try differently this time, or this past week while I was on the vacation. And so around the pool, there was a little fountain. So just like a little fountain like this had some water coming out. And I went to the bathroom and found some cups. And when I found the cups, I was really excited. Of course, I understand she's nervous about not wanting to get water up her nose, but I wanted to show her exactly what's happening when she goes underwater. So I took a cup. It's just a little plastic cup. You could see through it, which is nice. And so I put the cup, just turned it upside down and put it down into the water. So if you can imagine, we got our fountain here. Here's the water level like this, and I put a cup in. So I put the cup, just like a small cup like this. And of course there's air inside the cup. And so you can feel inside here where the air is up here, even though there's a little water that gets in the cup, obviously, because the water is pushing up on the air. So the air is getting a little bit compressed, but as I push the cup down, and I was showing her, look, I'm pushing the cup down, but the air is still in there. And so it can't get out, and that's why the water can't fill the cup up. So even if I push the water or push the cup way down deep in the water, you could see that there's still a bunch of air still in there. But if I tip the cup like this, I turn the cup to the side, then obviously the air comes back out, and you can see now there's water that fills up the cup. And so I asked her to try that too. So I said, look, you can push on the cup, and it's actually hard to push it down there because it's filled with all that air. And your nose works the same way. And something kind of clicked in her mind, and she understood, oh, like, look at that. It's that I actually don't have to have like the water just rushing up into my nose, because there's really nowhere to go if I just don't breathe. I'm just kind of holding my breath, and the water can't get up into my nose. And so once she understood that, then she really felt much more confident, especially trying it herself and seeing that, like, wow, look, the water doesn't go in there. And then she went in the water and gave it a try, and it was fine. And she said, wow, look at that, I can do it. And so she was not just swimming with one hand anymore. She was able to swim around the pool, and she got to enjoy herself and learn more swimming and do all kinds of things like that. So she just had an idea that needed to be broken about holding her nose, and she knew, okay, she can kind of trust me, but she really had to see like a really good experience. It's something that really could prove to her that it worked. But ultimately, so even though I could show her this, ultimately she still had to try this herself, okay? And so the reason I share this story, and I shared this with some learners recently, is that even if I can try to make the language super easy for people and show you exactly what to do, but if you don't follow it and don't give it a try, then there's really not much I can do. So in English, maybe you have some similar expression in your native language. We say, you can. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So I can bring a horse. I can, like have a horse and hold the strings. We call those the reins of the horse. I can bring the horse over to water, but I can't force the horse to do anything. So ultimately, the horse still has to drink. And so we use this expression often when people are, trying to teach something, but the person still has to give it a try, okay? So all the things I teach, hopefully you're going out and applying those things. I can't force anyone to do it. I can try to make the language as easy as possible and really help get you fluent by making the language understandable, but really go out and try using what I'm teaching. And if you do, I promise you will make more, have better conversations. You will feel much more confident. You will learn faster. So anyway, when we have expressions like this, this is just an additional tip here. I call this my think and shrink technique. But if we have a larger expression like this, often natives are only saying the first part of it because everybody knows, or at least most adults know the expression, and you don't have to say the whole thing. So we just say, you can lead a horse to water, and stop there. All right? So you don't have to say the whole thing. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, so everybody knows that. And many other expressions follow this same form, where there's a longer expression or a proverb or a saying, something like that, but people just say the beginning of it. Like, don't count your chickens before they hatch. All right, so don't count your chickens before they hatch. This is an expression where people are talking about, like, don't make an assumption that you'll have something before you actually have it. So if you think something might happen, don't bet like for sure that it will happen. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. So don't count your chickens before they hatch. So in the chicken case, maybe you have a bunch of eggs and you're counting the eggs. Oh, I know I'm going to get this many chickens, but maybe some of them die or something happens to them. So don't count your chickens before they hatch. But we just abbreviate this. We just say, don't count your chickens. All right? So you can lead a horse to water. Don't count your chickens. All right, so I just wanted to share this quick story because I thought it was a really good example of how you can teach someone and really help them understand something, but they have to take that next step. And the people who do tend to do well, or they're actually able to make progress in what they do. So really, like all these videos that I'm making, go out and actually apply those things, that the tips and other things that I share, use that. This is the same stuff that I do as I'm learning. I don't just tell you stuff and then expect you to do it. Like, these are all things that I do as I learn, and that's how I got fluent in Japanese. All right, so let me tell one more additional story about vocabulary that happened during the vacation. Yeah, I thought this was just a funny kind of use of it, but we actually, like my mom, we were sitting there having a conversation about this, and it was interesting that we kind of talk about the vocabulary itself and how it's interesting that we use vocabulary in certain ways. So here's the situation, here's the story that happened. One of my favorite desserts, it's an Italian dessert called tiramisu. See if I can spell it. Tiramisu. I think that's correct. So this is it's kind of a coffee and chocolate and cream kind of dessert thing, but one of my favorite desserts. And at this hotel, they had different restaurants you could go to, and one of them had a really good tiramisu and the other was not so good. And I was really surprised by that, to find why was this one for breakfast was really good. It was amazing, really good. I enjoyed it a lot, but the one at a dinner buffet was not so good, and I was really puzzled by why that was. Anyway, so my mom was asking me, you said you didn't really like that tiramisu, so I was really raving, to rave about something, to rave, R-A-V-E. To rave about something means to say, well, something is really exciting, like I'm saying, wow, that stuff is really good. This tiramisu was amazing. I'm raving about it, so I'm praising it, to rave about it. So I was raving about the tiramisu, and my mom asked me, oh, well, if you don't really like that other tiramisu, why are you eating it? And I said, any port in a storm. Any port in a storm. Any port in a storm. And my mom thought that was pretty funny, and it was just an interesting thing that I used. And often people in these videos here on YouTube, people ask, do I speak this way when I'm talking with native speakers, like my parents or friends or other people, just other native speakers? And one of the things that I don't really do very much of in these videos is using a lot of slang or idioms or expressions, other things like that people might not know. So if I want to use something, I should teach it and help people understand what it means, rather than I don't just use expressions without helping people understand what they mean, all right? But this is a story about using the vocabulary, so I can help you understand what it means. But it's a very useful expression, any port in a storm. So let me just help you understand this situation again. So we got two tiramisu desserts. One of them was really good. I was raving about it, and the second one was it was not so good. It was okay. I was happy to eat it, but I was very surprised that at the same hotel they had two different restaurants where one was a completely different dessert than the other one, and I was just very surprised by that, even though it was the same thing. And so when I said, well, any port in a storm, Annette says there's some alcohol in tiramisu, is very tasty. Yeah, there some people do put alcohol in it. I don't think all of them do. There's some of them kind of can be soaked with I don't want to explain the recipe of it, but there's kind of a cake bottom that usually has some kind of coffee flavored liqueur or just some kind of coffee flavor, espresso like that. Anyway, so any port in a storm, this expression specifically comes from if you're out in a boat and maybe the weather is really stormy and you just need to take your boat and put it anywhere. You can't just leave it out in the middle of the ocean, or the storm might come and destroy your boat. So if you see a storm is coming, or you're trying to get away from a storm, any place is fine for, it doesn't matter if it's the most beautiful port, so a port, a place like a harbor, a place where you would put your boat. a port. And so this is where we get like a seaport or an airport or a spaceport. So anywhere where we would have, vehicles, things like that, coming and staying or docking in a particular place. So any port in a storm means that even if something is not ideal, I can still do that thing anyway. And so we were talking about other examples of when we would use that, just because it was an interesting expression that came up. And I said, I often, well, maybe not often, but I hear that used with like men talking about women. And so, like, let's say a man is like, man, I really need like a woman tonight or something, like some guys are going out to a bar and whatever, they're looking for women, and they maybe meet someone, and, it might not be like the greatest woman for that guy, but, he's thinking like whatever, like any port in a storm. So even if this person is not ideal for me, just like for tonight, it should be okay, so we're not going to be too picky. So this is another way of saying, like, I'm not picky. Or tonight, or about this thing, P-I-C-K-Y, to be picky about something. So I'm not particularly picky about my tiramisu. If I get a really good one, I'm very impressed. If I get a not so good one, I'm not unhappy about that. So it doesn't make me feel bad. I was just very surprised to see at the same hotel these two different versions of the same dessert. And I should have asked the staff about that, but then I thought, oh no, like maybe I will make them mad or create like a rivalry or something like that. And I say, hey, because I didn't know who I could tell. Like, do I tell the other restaurant that had the good tiramisu and make them feel good about it, or do I tell the not so good restaurant about their tiramisu? So if I tell the not so good restaurant, they might feel bad about that. Maybe they don't care really. They're just making whatever they're making, but it was just very surprising. So any port in a storm, I was saying I really want to eat some tiramisu, and so I didn't care how good the tiramisu was. I was just like any time I can get some tiramisu, I'm happy to get it. And I rarely eat it anyway because they're just where I live in Nagasaki. If I went to Italy or something, I maybe would eat that every day for every meal. But in Nagasaki, I don't really get much tiramisu. I think there's maybe one place I can get it, but I rarely ever go there. Anyway, I just thought this was an interesting question, and it just showed that natives actually do talk about these kinds of things, and we talk about vocabulary and how we use it. Pardon me, as there's an ambulance as usual. If you've been with us for a while, you probably know about our favorite ambulances or whatever. I do feel bad. Obviously, there's like some trouble going on, but anyway, hopefully this sentence or this phrase makes sense to you. And you can see how when you're learning vocabulary, you should keep your mind open for the situation in which it's used. Because I can talk about any port in a storm with some dessert, even though people might not use it that way. So my mom was kind of laughing because she was surprised that I used it in that way when maybe people use that where they're actually talking about boats or they're talking about women or whatever. So often if you're not picky or you're just choosing something because, I don't know, maybe like it's the only option and you don't really care so much, so you can say any port in a storm. So any port in a storm. All right, so I wanted to keep this video pretty short, at least the beginning teaching section of this, but hopefully these ideas and some of this vocabulary has been more useful to you, and you're also seeing how you should be learning the vocabulary. All right, we always want to take a situation and see how we connect vocabulary with that situation. So in this situation, the point is that I'm choosing something, even though it's not ideal or perfect for me, I'm kind of settling for that thing. So maybe I didn't really want that. I wouldn't choose that if I had a few options, but because it's the only thing, well, any port in a storm. So I really wanted some tiramisu. I didn't care if it wasn't perfect, but it was okay. All right, so any port in a storm. But you can see how there's also additional ways that we might express that. So I could say I'm not picky, or I'm happy to settle, So to settle for something. So to settle for, like I'm happy to settle for the less good tiramisu rather than no tiramisu. So less good tiramisu is better than no tiramisu. Okay? All right. For my Italian fans out there, please send me some tiramisu in the mail or something if you can, because I'd really like to try some different tiramisu really from Italy. I'd like to go to Italy. I've never been there, but I thought, as it's one of my favorite desserts, if you can send that to me, please do. All right. Let me go back and check chat, see if anybody has any questions about this or anything else since I've been away. All right, Bear says hola, Tsubasa again, Ohio gozaimasu. Yeah, looking hot over there. And the toy says hello, Drew. Greetings from Brazil. Satish from India. Med from Morocco. Liz says Brazil's take over the live always. Yes, we got always lots of Brazilians, but I'm happy to help anybody who's interested in learning. Let's see if I can read this. Sklivinson, that's an interesting name. It has been a long time. Well, I was here, I guess, a week and a half ago. And Nils over there, Annette back in Wisconsin, I guess. I think you were in Germany for a bit. Ewald says hello from Switzerland. Yeah, you're talking about like my daughter being cautious. Yes, that's true. So she was being cautious, and it's okay to be cautious. I know a lot of people are cautious, and even when you get guarantees about things, people are still nervous about trying. But you have to take that leap at some point. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But I promise you, if you have a good sense that something will work, give it a try, go do that thing, and you will probably succeed. Allah says, thank you, Professor. You are the best. It's my pleasure. Let's see. When I dive, I also hold my nose. Yeah, so when you like maybe you jump in the water, you hold your nose like that. It's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but when you're underwater, if you want to use both hands while you swim, and it's just more fun, you don't have to hold your nose. You can use your hands to do whatever, if you can do that. As it says, hello from Ethiopia. Let's see. Sandhya from India, from Kolkata. Batter says, while reading a story, I came across the following sentence. Me and my brother did something. Why didn't he say my brother and I? Tell us, please. Thank you. Well, that's just incorrect English. But you'll often hear that. And even in these live videos or in regular communication, I will use incorrect English that's actually just commonly used. So if you heard it, did you hear there was an example of that a little bit ago? What did I say exactly? I said there's something, but I'll just give you an example of it over here. So often natives will get confused about using me or I, and you like nobody really cares about that in a regular conversation. They're not going to stop the conversation to talk about that, but it's important to use it correctly, especially if you're writing. So I'm surprised you would get that in a regular story. But so that's one mistake that natives will commonly make. So if you might hear someone make a mistake like me and my brother did something, or my brother and me did something. And to remember which you should use, if it's like me and X did something, whatever that is, me and X, you would just think if I erase this, how would it sound correct? And in this case, like me did something, a native speaker, especially an adult native speaker, would never say this. All right, so they wouldn't make that mistake. They would know, okay, I did something. And typically when people are using the language like that, like if they just make a mistake about which one of those to use because they're just speaking casually and forget or whatever, this is a way to remember that, especially for writing. Okay, so just think, if I'm only talking about myself, which would be correct? And in this case, I did something. Or if you're talking about something being done to you, then like something was done to me. All right, so I did something, but something was done to me. All right, and then if we're talking about an additional person, we typically, for politeness, we would put ourselves second. So like my brother and I. So my brother and I did something. Okay, so I put myself second in that. Like my family and I are going somewhere. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll just give you one additional example since I forgot to mention that. There's two cats on the table. There's two cats on the table. And you probably heard me, or maybe you didn't notice it though, when I was using this and often talking about, like, there is for one thing. Like, there is a marker in my hand. There is a marker in my hand, okay? Or I would say there are two markers in my hands. But we say there's, and even if it's talking about more than one, you will hear natives say this because it's just faster, all right? So if I try to say it like there are two cats over there, it's kind of needlessly, I'm taking more time to say things even though people understand what I'm saying, and they know I'm not like misunderstanding the grammar, I'm just saying it faster. So you will often hear natives using the vocabulary this way. So there's two people over there. There's some things happening over there, even if I'm just talking about multiple things rather than just one. So the correct English would be there's a cat over there, like one cat. There is a cat. But even for multiple cats or whatever I'm talking about, there's two markers over there. Look, there's two markers instead of there are two markers, which would be correct. So this is another reason to pay attention to what natives are saying, and rather than trying to think like just specifically about the rules, we want to get lots of examples of different natives talking about things, and even especially the same situation, because then we can see, oh, look, some people do use incorrect grammar and it's okay, nobody cares, and everybody just has a good conversation about that. So if you are trying to make a strong effort to say there are two cats over there, it's really very easy just to say there's two cats over there. All right, there's two cats over there. All right, let me keep going here. Right. And, all right, I answered that one. Richard says, I can relate to what you articulate in your expression. In fact, I need someone to converse with me in English. Oh, accept whatever is on offer regardless of the quality, just saying it to remember the phrase. Yeah. So, accepting whatever is on offer regardless of the quality. Yes, that is like a kind of definition for the term, but if you understand it within the situation, then you should get that idea also. And also, just to mention about, you don't need someone there to improve your conversation ability. You just need to get lots of good examples that help you remove the doubt that stops you from speaking. Okay, so when I'm trying to practice by myself, I'm not really speaking to myself or trying to speak to other people, even if other people might be available. I'm trying to get lots of examples of how something, whatever examples of the vocabulary. So a perfect example of this, I think maybe 2 or 3 days ago, I was at a bookstore, and right now is summertime in Japan, and so typically at a bookstore you will have like books for particular seasons or particular, whatever the, some theme or whatever, something like that. So maybe during Christmas time, you've got Christmas books. But at this bookstore, because it's summertime, lots of little kids are going out and trying to catch bugs. So they have their little box to catch bugs or a bug net. And there were a bunch of books about rhinoceros beetle. So lots of kids in Japan like beetles. I'll draw a picture of it, kind of. My pictures are not very good, but it's a pretty large beetle, and it kind of looks like this. It's got a big horn, and it's got the legs like that. So 6 legs, but it's got this big kind of horn in the front. So this is the male, I think, but anyway, so this is called a kabuto mushi. It's just like a rhinoceros beetle. And there are a couple of different books about that. And these are just for kids, but I read a couple of books about this. Again, I like reading Japanese kids' books because there are lots of interesting vocabulary words I can learn. But also just it's hearing different people telling stories about the same kind of thing. So you will find some of the same vocabulary, or you will find other different ways of describing things. And so what often happens is people will read one book or watch one lesson about something, and then they will stop and they will think, well, I guess I understand, these bugs, or I understand this grammar point or whatever. But for me, I'm always trying to get additional lessons or more examples of things, and that's the actual practice that gets me fluent. So I can learn a lot more about these bugs by getting a bunch of different examples of them. It could be stories or podcasts or whatever, but it's much better to do that and spend my time getting this information, this input, rather than me trying to speak or find someone to talk with. All right. So as I continue to remind people, you don't have to find people to practice speaking with in order to improve your fluency. You just need to get lots of good examples. So real native speech, just like I'm getting these real books that real Japanese kids would be reading, and I can get the same information from them. So I think I told a story about this similar kind of experience with what was that? Tanabata, which is like the Star Festival from last month. So in July, it's like a Star Festival kind of thing where people wish, like you just write your wish on a little piece of paper and hang that on a bamboo plant. So I didn't know some of the vocabulary for that. I know what Tanabata is, and I was just like, okay, let me read a bunch of these kids' books and find out more information. Of course, I read a bunch of books and I know more about it, and it's pretty easy. All right. So rather than me trying to speak, I need more information. All right. That's a pretty good picture. I'll leave that one up. All right. Let's see here. Some more good questions over here. All right, so Hussein says, hello, I have a test tomorrow in passive voice, in present and past. Could you give me some advice to help? Well, if you have a test tomorrow, just like look up the specific examples of that and just cram that into your head right before the test. So obviously you can spend a bit more time, but I would just get lots of different examples rather than me explaining you what the passive voice is. Just get a bunch of different examples of it, and then you will naturally feel more confident about how the vocabulary works. All right. So if you're trying to learn or pass a test, then just try to cram as much information as you can by getting lots of examples right before the test. And you might not remember everything, but you will do much better on the test in that way. So rather than spend a lot of time doing that, that's what I would recommend you do. All right, Abdo says, doesn't the same person make it? You're talking about the tiramisu? Well, in that case, like the tiramisu actually looked different. So it looked like different ingredients, obviously different quality stuff. So I was just wondering, like the breakfast one was better than the dinner one. Weird. Like usually the dinner is kind of the nicer one, but the breakfast one was way better. So I don't know why they do that, but so I know different people were making these. It's in two different restaurants. I'm guessing they probably made it. They wouldn't make like two different ones in the same restaurant, I'm guessing. Sometimes the police, it's typically, we don't really get many police sirens over here, but usually it's some kind of ambulance or something around here. Leo says, hi teacher, I'm now studying about slave African people that came to Brazil about 500 years ago. That's interesting. Let's see, oh no, there are no spaces in this name. Just a random channel. Oh, okay, that's what that means. Are there two T's in the word settle, pronounced as two D's? It's just one. It's two T's, but it's pronounced like settle. We call that like just a flap T. You basically pronounce it very slightly in American English. So British English, it would be like settle. But American English, it's settle with a D sound, just a slight D sound. Settle. Panna cotta is good. Yes, that's another, that's probably my second favorite Italian dessert. That's the one thing, I love Japan, but the food, I like Japanese food, but Like if I was living in Italy, I think I would like it even more. So of the different kinds of food I enjoy, Italian is probably my favorite. Like I like Italian and like Thai food. I like Thai food a lot. Jefferson from Miami, and Hong says, good morning, teacher. Have a great day. Meg says, good morning from Brazil. And Sandia says, I need a friend to speak with. So I already answered this. You don't need a friend to speak with. You really just need to get lots of examples. And it's very, very easy to do that now with YouTube and podcasts. And there's no shortage of information. So there's lots of examples of native English about anything you would like to learn. And it's very easy to find it. So that's how I got fluent in Japanese. I wasn't waiting around for people to like come be my friend and talk with me. And even if you do have that, you're really just repeating the vocabulary you already know. So it's a much better thing if you want to level up your vocabulary. You actually have to learn new things, just like kind of training a muscle. You have to stretch that muscle in order to make it bigger and stronger. So you do have to do the same thing for learning vocabulary. So don't worry about finding people to speak with. It's going to be a much better use of your time just to get lots of good examples. And then if you find people to speak with, then you certainly can. Bonnie says, good morning from Uganda. And Louis, again from Brazil. Leo and Pelotas, I don't know where that is. Maybe that's in Brazil also. Hammond says hello. Oh, wow, there for 3 weeks in Germany. Hopefully it's going well, though. And Abbasedarin says, you are teaching a teacher. Well, hello. Jose says, hi, kitty. Keiko says, hello, teacher Drew. Ohayo gozaimasu. Wait, did you say Ohayo gozaimasu or gozaimasu? Let's see. There's many people here today as well. Is this okay? Yes, you would say that as like, wow, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people here. You will hear natives say that. Yes, very good. And so again, I wouldn't write that. So when you're writing, you do have time to think and, okay, is this correct grammar or not? You should take your time to do that. But when you're speaking, you will hear natives using shorter, incorrect versions of the language because nobody cares. People are just typically in conversational English. They're trying to communicate faster and communicate information without spending a lot of time or saying any extra things. Let's see. Abdo says a calzone is a good try. It's soon a calzone. Oh, you mean like the Italian calzone? Is that what you mean? But yeah, I'm a fan of those too, if that's what you're talking about. All right. She's, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, hi teacher. I'll be studying in the UK from September. Do you have any advice for people going to an English-speaking country for the first time? I would just learn about. I would like watch videos about that thing on YouTube, whatever it is you're interested in, and you will know a lot about the country. Or you're going to the UK, maybe you can find, I don't know where specifically you're going, but if you're learning about London or I don't know, wherever particular place you can be, you can watch videos on YouTube that talk about that, and so you can learn all about things before you even get there. So the kinds of food or the places to go or the people or the accents they have. But again, the more training you get with those accents, it's almost like training AI, where you give yourself lots of input, and that's what's going to help you understand something better rather than you trying to say a lot of things by yourself. But that's how I would prepare for going to a different country. Meg says, Pelotas is in Brazil. Okay, gotcha. Patos. Hi from Talagante, Chile. Nice to see you there. Pardon me as I get my kind of Spanish accent. I just like to to say that. Let's see. And Abbasedarin says, secret of your fitness. My fitness, like physical fitness. I wish I had like a good secret for physical fitness. I actually don't feel very fit. I need to not eat so much tiramisu, I think. Now I need to get more fit. But the only thing I do, usually I wake up and just do some exercising in my room, and that's it. I don't go to a gym I don't even play any sports right now. But that's it. So I just do, it's all calisthenic stuff. So let me write this. I think it's Calesthehe. Calisthenic. If I'm pronouncing that, there might be, let me check that before I tell you the wrong thing. Oh, that's an I, excuse me. Just trying to remember what. So calisthenics is where you're using like body weight training. And so like I'm just doing pull-ups or push-ups or whatever. It's just using my own body weight for resistance. So I could go to a gym, but I don't really feel like taking the time, and I can just do that at home. So I have a like a freestanding parallel bar, like just a bar I can do pull-ups and things like that. Let's see. Leo says the flat T sound in Brazil, one of our Brazilian R sound. Yep. Abdul says, you make me hungry when you talk about Italian food is very delicious. Yes, it is. I wish I could have some now. Like I usually don't get tiramisu for breakfast. So that's part of the secret to my fitness also is not eating tiramisu for breakfast because it is quite rich. You know, you got some cream and I think mascarpone cheese or something in there. Very tasty though. Okay, it says, sorry, a typo. Okay, gozaimasu. And so I thought you were just being very polite, like, Ohayo gozaimasu, gozaimasu. Because I will kind of make jokes like that in Japanese sometimes for people. C is back. What animal you could say, what animal did you draw? This is called a kabutomushi or I don't even know the name of it in English. I think, let me check that too before I tell you some wrong information. Let me see. It should be like a rhinoceros beetle. Yes, I am correct about that. So a rhinoceros, like a regular rhinoceros, if I can draw that one. I'm not going to draw that one very well. I'll just do it quickly here. So a regular rhinoceros has usually one or two horns up here, a rhino. And so a rhinoceros beetle is the same kind of thing. So beetle. A beetle. And again, here, just like I use the word settle, so you're hearing me, when I'm not really pronouncing the T here. It sounds more like a D. So a British pronunciation would be beetle, like the Beatles, like the band, the Beatles. But I just say beetle with a D sound, beetle. So this is a rhinoceros beetle. It's probably one of my best drawings on these YouTube videos. Let's see. And then thanks a lot. Let's see. Luciana says, hey, y'all. And Hamid says, hi, I'm from Iran. It's 5 a.m. here. I really enjoy watching your videos. They are really useful for me. Glad to hear it. If you enjoy the videos, do click the like button and share the videos with anyone else. Also, let me know what specifically you like about them so I can do more of that. So people often say they like the videos, but they don't specifically say why. So let me know why. And a new word learned. Thank you. Yep, glad to hear it. Alejandro says, I wish you could have the chance to travel to Bologna in Italy and eat the lasagna alla Bologna. Yeah, it would be nice. I'll get to Italy at some point. I've been there a few years ago, and I'll never forget that flavor. And I'm from Buenos Aires. Wow. Yes, well, now you guys are making me very excited about, about getting to Italy. I don't know if we have anybody in the chat now from Italy, but if you have recommendations about places to go, I would like to check it out. And I've got to think, says Keiko Abdu says, to be honest, I learned lots of things with you, teacher. You have good ways to explain. Thanks for your efforts. Glad to hear it. Bruno, nice to see you there. Hey, Drew, I'm happy I could make it for your live stream. Welcome, Abdu, again. But you bad when you draw, teacher. You have to learn how to draw. Yes, again, I don't want to take time and like draw a really nice picture, but maybe I will surprise you all one day and take time to draw a really beautiful picture of something, and then you can say, wow, he's actually an amazing artist, but he was just pretending to be bad. Leo says, in Portuguese, how is this animal called? I have no idea. Well, you can look it up. Look up rhinoceros beetle. The Japanese is kabutomushi. So if you look up kabutomushi, that's the Japanese name for it. So kabuto now, like when you look at samurai, you've seen a samurai helmet. They usually have these kind of big like horn things, like samurai. Some interesting kind of helmet like that. But before I came to Japan, I didn't really know kabutomushi was a thing in Japan. So mushi means bug. Mushi. And like when I saw that, I was like, wow, look at that! Like people, like the samurai actually had a kind of helmet like these kind of beetles. So I don't know the history of that, but I think that's probably where it comes from because they both have this kind of helmet is also called kabuto. Anyway, it just means like a horned kind of helmet thing that you have, but it's a rhinoceros beetle in English, and they're probably different. Escarbajo. I don't know if is that the name of it? I don't know if that's the name of that beetle or not. But it's just a type of beetle. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to try to. A rinoceronte in Portuguese. That's a rhinoceros? I don't know what that. I mean, it sounds like it would just be the name. So rhino means like nose or rhino. Like people get nose surgery. That's called rhinoplasty. Get nose surgery. Right, and let's see, Mr. PSO. You guys are talking to each other. Hiker fan says hello, everyone. And I don't know. Yeah, just Google that and look for a picture of it. You can see what it looks like. But it's pretty. It kind of. I mean, it looks like this, and also it's got big wings, and so it can fly. When it's, the wings come out like that. I'm not drawing it very well, obviously, but it actually has some pretty big wings and it can fly around. Pretty cool insect. But little kids love to go out and catch those things. You can watch National Geography by Portuguese. That's true, yes, like National Geographic. So Beatles is the same Beatle. Well, Beatles like B-E-A-T, the band name B-E-A-T-L-E-S. So they're making a kind of pun on the word. So beetle, it's the animal is with two E's and the band Beatles with is E-A. So like a beat, like the drum beat, the beat. So the Beatles. It's kind of a joke. Hi, teacher says, Nang, nice to see you there, and I have learned this animal name years ago. Glad to hear it. Can you say Dzendobry is it mean good morning? Dzendobry? I think I've heard that before. It means good morning in Poland. But I'm probably not saying it correctly. Zen. I think it's like Dzendobry, something like that. And there's another, I think, language that says that. I was in Poland many years ago. Let's see. Ramos says, have you ever heard about Koji Kabuto from Mazinger Z? No, it sounds like an anime, but no, I do not. I don't know what that is. Nang says, hello from Vietnam. So that's the escarbajo in Spanish. That's the name of that beetle? That's interesting. It sounds like escargot, like the snail in French. Let's see. I'd already forget. Yes, if you don't remember what it is, but like all Japanese kids know what that bug is, the kabuto machine. Jungle Boy, hey Drew, is writing essays helpful to become more fluent in English? Not necessarily, but it could help. There are lots of things you could do to get fluent in English, but the key is, can they destroy the doubts you have about whatever pronunciation, grammar, that kind of thing. So that's really the key. So anything else at the heart of learning, and this was really the big secret that got me fluent, is just I needed to destroy the doubt. So when I thought about why I was struggling to learn, it wasn't where I lived or how many hours I practiced or even how many people I tried to speak with, because it was just the doubt. And so whatever you do, you could be reading books, watching podcasts, watching videos, listening to podcasts, whatever. Any way that you might be trying to improve your fluency, if it doesn't destroy the doubts you have, if it doesn't make the language more understandable, then it's not going to help you speak fluently. So an essay could do that. If you're writing an essay, maybe you have to research for that and you learn about it and you practice writing. Yeah, that could probably help you. And if you feel more fluent and confident, like you understand something better after you do it, then yes, like that could actually be a good way to improve your fluency. So think about that, that really the thing that actually stops people from speaking is the doubts, whatever those doubts are about pronunciation or grammar, or am I using the right word correctly? It's those kinds of things that will stop you from speaking. So this is why it doesn't matter where you live. I know people today in Japan who have been living here longer than I have. So they've been here for like 30 years or 40 years, and they still can't speak Japanese very well. So being in Japan is not like a magical thing, just like living in the United States is not a magical thing that gets you fluent. The thing that gets you fluent is destroying the doubts that stop you from speaking, all right? So anytime you're asking me, like, do I recommend this thing or that thing, whatever, it's just destroying the doubt. All right, let's see. And Westham says, there's an old series, Japan cartoon is named Grandizer. One of the characters named Kabuto. Well, there you go. Totemo polite version, gozaimasu. There you go. The Totemo polite version. Leo says, how fuchsia is called in English? Isn't that, or fusca? Or are you talking about a different, I don't know what that is. But look it up. I don't know. Use Google. I have no idea that like the names of bugs in Portuguese or Spanish or whatever. But it's interesting. I know now some like more things, the names of them in Japanese than I do in English because I didn't know what they were. Is the Japanese hard to learn, and what are difficult English or Japanese teacher? Let me read that again. Is the Japanese hard to learn, and what are difficult English or Japanese teacher? I don't know what that means. Are you asking if the Japanese language is hard to learn? It was hard to learn when I was learning it as a second language, and that means trying to understand the grammar by like remembering grammar tables and doing gap filling exercises and things like that. That made the language harder because it created more doubt for me. But once I started learning in a way that actually helped me make the language understandable, then the language became quite easy to learn. Now, the tricky thing for me at the moment is learning kanji. So I gave you an example before about like mushi. So this is the Japanese character for bug or insect. And so learning things like this, there are thousands of these characters. It's much easier in English because you only have 26 letters. Well, you got 26 lowercase and 26 uppercase letters to learn. And it's much easier to, once you understand the phonics and the different rules of the sounds, you can get a newspaper or something and read the whole thing and understand maybe not all of it, but at least you can read what the words are saying. But in Japanese, it's much more difficult. So if I don't know all of the characters for a newspaper article or something, then I can't understand everything about it. I can understand some of it, but I could read something and there might be one character I don't know, like, what does that mean? Now I'm stuck. So it's just much more difficult for learning the written language that way. But in terms of learning to speak, I haven't found a language that I've thought was like more difficult than any other language, because across every group of people, the children all learn those languages at the same rate. So there are 4-year-old Japanese children that speak Japanese really well. There are 4-year-old Chinese children that speak Chinese really well. And same thing with English or Portuguese or French or whatever. And again, there's nothing about the language that would make it difficult to speak, but you do have things like writing that make it more difficult, one language versus another. But speaking is, it's not that different if you learn it as a first language. So that's what I do here for anybody new. What we do on this channel is help people understand English as a first language, and that means you're really connecting with the language well. You're understanding everything in English and then trying to learn it the same way a native would. And I know a lot of people believe they can't learn a language that way, but if you go back and watch my videos, I'm just giving you lots of examples of how vocabulary works and showing that you can actually understand that the same way a native does. And so if you can understand a language directly, it's much easier to speak it because you don't have to think about translations or grammar rules when you speak. You just use the language automatically. Let's see. And C says, fun fact, T-Rex is actually a chicken ancestor. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, that birds are the descendants of dinosaurs. Jungle Boy says, thanks a lot, Drew. Very cool. Glad to hear it. Hiker Vance, is there a term to say my name in one word? Hiker fan? Like a fan of hiking? Someone who enjoys hiking? In English, you mean? Like another way to say that? I don't know. Like a way to say hiker fan? I don't know. Or is there something different you mean by that? Samir says, something looks like that I can't read. Lewis says it's a car. Fusca? Fusca means car? Or that's a kind of car? But I don't know. Use Google for that. If you're asking me what some Portuguese word means or whatever, then I wouldn't be able to help you. Exactly. Destroy the doubt. It seems I found listening to a podcast do the magic for me. Yes. And so you could listen to a podcast and that would help, but I would also watch something, read something else. The point is to get all these different examples, and then that gets you fluent in the same way that a native is getting lots of different examples as well. All right. And let's see. So, all right, you guys are talking with each other, I guess. Pato says, are you still learning Japanese? What do you do now after having reached fluency when you have a doubt or you feel stuck when speaking to someone? So, yeah, that's a good question. So I'm continuing to learn Japanese, and especially most of my learning time now is more just learning kanji. So that's these Chinese characters that are used in written Japanese. So Japanese has 3 different written languages, not including English that's sometimes used, but I know that language already. And so yes, I'm continuing to learn. Most of my time is spent doing that. And if I'm in a conversation where I don't understand something, I typically don't have the same kind of doubts I did when years ago I just couldn't understand anything and my mind would go blank. I have a lot more control over myself now because I understand the language a lot better. And so if I don't understand something, I'm actually much more comfortable now asking someone, oh, what does that mean? Like, oh, I've not heard that word before, or like, could you explain that? And so sometimes people might they're like, oh, like you understood this word, but maybe you didn't understand that word, and it's fine. Nobody is arguing with me about that. They're trying to have a conversation with me. And so like if I'm talking with my accountant in Japanese, I'll just say, oh, what is this term or something? And if I can't just Google it by myself. But again, typically I'm trying to use that in the conversation if there's something I don't understand. Or if I don't have time, or if I'm watching a TV show, I'll just look it up. Just try to get the definition of that thing. Let's see. And Sergio says, hello, baby. I love watch you. You would say I love watching you. Or you could say I love to watch you. Meg says, maybe Japanese is more difficult to learn because you have to learn hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Yes. So the written language is more difficult. And regular school instruction for kids, they spend, I think, 12 years trying to learn all of the kanji. It's like 2,000 kanji, I think. And the tricky thing about the kanji is like this could be like mushi by itself, or it could be like konchu, like I'm talking like using the word insect. So it even has different readings depending on the situation. So you're learning the how to write the kanji as well as how to read it. And you're taking all those and you start combining these with different things, and it changes the reading of it. So it gets much more complex, and a lot more complex than English and the sound rules of English. But if you're just talking about speaking by itself, little kids learn how to speak, and they can already speak quite well even before they're learning any kanji. Okay, here we go. Lewis says, in Brazil, I guess named Beetle when release a new version. I thought it was discontinuing. Oh, you're talking about the car, the Beetle? Like the Volkswagen Beetle? That's a different thing. I was talking about the insect. But yes, if you mean the capitalized beetle, that's what you're talking about. But verb conjugation is much easier in Japanese than in English or Portuguese. Yeah, I guess it is easier. There are fewer irregular verbs, which is nice. And yeah, you can, like, the sentence patterns are quite easy once you start figuring it out. But it's much easier if you learn it in Japanese rather than trying to learn it through English or Portuguese or whatever your native language is. Lewis says, you can just Google that. There you go. Leo says, I already looked up. Okay, you guys are talking to each other still. Abdo says, so example, when you watch TV by Japanese, sometimes when you focus, whether it's just heard or without subtitle, you understand it or you have to read to help you more. Yeah, so I will watch Japanese TV shows and not understand every word. Sometimes I do, sometimes I do not. But if I do, or if I can't hear something clearly, like a speaker is not pronouncing words very clearly, subtitles can help me as well, just to see what the person is saying. And I will say, oh, look at that. Like that person, he was saying that. Like if I'm listening to music can often be difficult. So I'll look at the lyrics of the song to understand what it is. But natives will make mistakes with those things too. People will mishear something, so not hear it correctly. Well, Canaro is back. Hey, Drew, maybe you should ask your wife to make a tiramisu for you. Yeah, tiramisu is kind of a pain to make it. So it's nice if you can go to a hotel or a restaurant and get it that way. But yes, if you can get a good one. I have made tiramisu before. I've made a pretty good one, actually, but it takes a lot of time to make. At least it took a long time for me. Or just make it together. I do think it's going to be hard to make it. By the way, tiramisu sounds like a Japanese word to me. Yeah, it does sound a little. But many Japanese people know the word. It's a popular dessert here, especially at Italian restaurants. I learned Japanese through English, but my native language is Portuguese. Gillern says, this is the first time I'm watching you live. Well, welcome to the program. And Essence says, sir, is there, you'd say, are there any tips you could offer regarding how to organize my thoughts when speaking English? I can safely say that I have a good grasp of the language, but I tend to talk too much to my convey. Oh, and so I understand what you're saying. You should watch. I've made some videos already about how to organize things, how to organize sentences when you speak. Maybe I can make some more, I guess. But the basic idea is that you're focusing on a particular. Like me, when I'm doing these videos, there's a particular point I want to make, but there could be many different ways I could say it, and I try not to say more than I need to unless it seems like people need more examples or whatever to understand something. So you want to express what's the shortest and easiest way to do something, whatever the goal is for the communication. Sometimes you actually want to speak longer or express something in a more interesting way, like you would describe something in a novel or something like that. So you have to think about matching the communication to the people you're speaking to. And so if you're an author writing in a book, that's a different way of communicating than you would be talking to some local person in an everyday conversation. But you just want to match that, whatever that person is for that situation. All right, but specifically about organizing thoughts as you speak, I made a video, I forget the name of it, but the thumbnail image has a little chain link at the bottom of it where it's talking about being able to connect sentences as you speak and form sentences fluently. Daizen Dobry is a Russian meaning good afternoon or good day. Oh. Look at that. I guess maybe they use the same thing there. Abdo says, for me, I have some difficulty when, so you would say, I have some difficulty when I try to watch a TV show without subtitles by English, but when I read books, I find books easier than watching movies or series. Yes. And so a book would typically be easier because the word is clearly written there, but in regular movies or TV shows, people are not speaking clearly. That's the same reason people can understand me well, but maybe they don't understand others who are not speaking clearly. So I'm making an effort to be clear and understandable. All right. So it's okay to watch movies or TV shows with subtitles. And as you get better, you will get an ear. We will say to get an ear for something. It just means you're getting used to that speech, whatever that is. So to get an ear for something. So when I first came to Japan, the speech was very hard for me to understand, and people are speaking in a much different way than people in regular exercises in a textbook would speak. And so I need to get an ear for native Japanese by listening to lots of native Japanese. All right. Same thing you need to do in English. As it says, thank you, sir. And Ildar says, well, How's it going, Drew? It's going all right. Nice to see everybody here. Well, let's see, how long have we been going? Well, I think about an hour. And Minawe says, finally, I am catching you live. I really like the way you are teaching. You would say the way you are teaching, or like the way you teach. You can say both of those. Remember the name Tatiana? It was written in Russian as well. Yes. So I'm no Russian expert. I only remember a little bit, so I have been to Russia before as well, many years ago. But yeah, trying to learn that, maybe I can try to pick up some more Cyrillic in the future, along with Italian, so I can learn my Italian and order tiramisu in an Italian restaurant. I think that would be pretty cool. Anyway, I think that's the end of this video. We've covered this. I just wanted to give some very simple vocabulary lessons. If you have specific questions and you'd like to learn more, you can click on the links in the description below this video. You can learn more about Frederick. This is where we help you understand pronunciation like a native, and you can compare different sounds to really get an ear for English, native English pronunciation, and also learn more about Fluent for Life. So if you'd like to improve your ability to speak, to be able to speak without hesitating or translating or thinking about grammar rules, that kind of thing. So that's what we train you to do in Fluent for Life. So you can click on the links to learn more about that, and I'll see you probably Thursday, I think, if I'm not taking another vacation. All right, have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.